No.
So I have two daughters.
I also wanted to say, like, peer pressure is something that's been around, like, for forever. It's probably going to always be around.
Variations of hairstyles, whether they have wigs, weaves, extensions. Welcome to podcast number 4, Online Safety and Digital Harms. Today we're going to be talking about sextortion, bullying, and body shaming. Welcome to the Survivor Council, and we have some guests. We have a guest, Robin, Tish, and Lady T.
Hey.
It's a good Wednesday, so let's get it rolling, ladies.
All right. As our wonderful host today, Alice, have just talked about, we will be talking about online safeties and sextortion and bullying, and we have a spin with entrepreneurship. Woohoo! We're excited about that. So I know I am the statistics and data source queen. I was just given that moniker a couple of days ago. So there has been an uptick or prevalence in sextortion, and sextortion has no rhyme or reason. It has no respect of person. So right now, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, it has indicated a significant rise in 2023 with cyber tip lines. They have received over 37,000 calls of reports on online enticement, including sextortion. And then the Michigan Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force has reported a 30% increase. 30%, that's a lot. So this is a very, very important subject matter, and it has a huge impact on youth. So according to another survey, the Thorn survey, I love Thorn. Thorn has a lot of data and statistics. But they have said that the focus on technology solutions to combat child sexual exploitation, that they have found that 1 in 7 minors in the United States of these Americas have received sextortion threats. So just think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we had 2 more people, somebody in this room would have been propositioned. So, and that's just in Michigan. And then Michigan State Police has reported that there's approximately a 60% increase in sextortion victims around the state, particularly from ages 11 to 17. So we'll be talking about what that looks like. And, as an entrepreneur, we also have cyberbullying. So cyberbullying with youth, cyberbullying with individuals. So this is going to be a very good session. So get ready, listen in.
Lady T, can you break down for those who don't know what sextortion is? Can you explain what that is?
Yes. Sextortion is the coercion or the ability to ask someone to do something in lieu of something, right? So if you have received an email or a text message, someone asking, say, they will give you some harm or some force coercion to do something, as a result of a text message or someone hacking your contacts, hacking your photos, you have to be careful about where you're going on the whole internet. So technology is a tool, but right now you have predators. They're out there. They're waiting to exploit you. And unfortunately, there has also been a significant rise in suicides amongst youth ages 11 to 17 as a result of being coerced. Because once the violations of hacking into your phone and or if a youngster has been sextorted, they may adhere to the coerced activity of the predator. And because they have adhered to it, they may do or act out whatever the predator is asked of them, and then they don't know what to do or who to communicate with. So they use that as a means to coerce them into other things, and it does have a direct correlation to sex trafficking, child trafficking, sex exploitation, and all these other harms. But we're going to talk about today this as a tool, and I hope that you listen in and you learn something today.
It's because I was reading about a young man who was being identified online, and he sent his pictures off, and actually they were doing sextortion with him, and so he was robbing his family to get money, and it made him so mentally depressed, that he ended up killing himself and committed suicide. And it's a very real and dangerous thing with our youth right now. It's like really real because all of our youth are online, right? And so like this is something that we have to, as leaders or parents or trusted adults, to understand and know about. So I think that this is a great topic.
Wow. Oh, that just blew me away. So I have a question for all of you ladies. When it comes to our youth being exposed to sextortion and cyberbullying, what measures can we take to protect them and to also protect ourselves? We all have daughters, nieces, little cousins, and relatives, that could potentially be exposed to this. So this is for all of you. Alice?
I just went. No, of course. The main thing that I focus on, with the youngsters that I work with and my own daughter is really just educating them on understanding that there's, 5 million people on the internet. 1 out of 5 is a predator. So trying to be friends with everybody and thinking that everybody is your friend is really defeatist, right? And so helping them understand that and letting them know, like, you can tell me when somebody does something wrong. And understanding, like, I can block, I can delete. When somebody comes at you in a obscene way or a harmful way or even a mean way, right? And then I monitor. So like when she's online and stuff, I'll be standing there listening, to hear her, how she expands. And then also with the girls that I work with, helping them understand, like, because these girls have been trafficked, right? And so to them, it's like kind of like that's just the norm. And so helping them understand there's a difference between being online to promote a business or talk about your lifestyle, like, what you're doing today versus being online selling yourself.
Right.
And so that education piece, because once I learned that I can actually use online for a tool outside of, selling myself, then I become knowledgeable on how to be able to identify, oh no, you're wrong. This is not right. This is what Ms. J was talking about when she was saying that these people are trying to use me, right? So that's just my perspective.
Just to add to what you were saying, like I have a daughter as well, and I think it's important for me to share with her like certain experiences just to let her know, like, I'm not just telling you about this, like, I actually experienced this, I actually lived this, and I want you to know and be aware of what's out here. And if it ever happens, you could come to mommy and tell me, what's going on. I had a incident where I think it was like maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago, where a random number texted me, and they said some stuff, and I thought it was somebody else playing, like somebody that I knew, just playing on my phone, and they ended up sending me, it was a male, ended up sending me their male parts. And it was just a random number, a random person, and I'm like, of course he didn't care, but nobody knew who was on it. He didn't know who was on the other end of that cell phone, because all of our children, for the most part, we try to keep them safe. We give them cell phones in case something happens where they need to call us or reach out to us. So that could have been anybody's cell phone, and who knows who he did that, if it was the first time he did it or if that's going to be the last time. But I shared that with her to let her know, like, you know, this is the type of stuff that happens. So if this ever happens to you, I need you to come and bring it to mommy and let me know, because it's not okay. It's not right, you know. And so, yeah, I think it's just about being open and honest. And a lot of, like what we said during the last podcast, is just having those uncomfortable conversations. It's, you know, you just have to do it, because if not, they're gonna, you know, they could potentially experience this and they don't know what to do if you didn't have that conversation with them. So,
although I am not a professional or advocate, I am a mom. So I have two daughters.
She is the professional
in this space. I have two daughters, and this goes back to the conversation that Tish and I were having before we started recording about having open and honest conversations and tough conversations. There's times where I have to take a breath before having different conversations with my girls, because they were exposed to things that I wasn't exposed to literally until I was in college. So now I'm overhearing them saying things, and I'm like, well, where did you hear that? Oh, well, you know, my friends, we were talking about this. And so, you know, we talk about everything. Nothing's off the table. And I mean nothing. And things that my mom doesn't even want to talk to them about, I have to talk to them about, because I want them to be comfortable coming to me with anything. I say, you're never going to shock me, because I'm going to love you regardless. So come to me if there's something you're not comfortable with, something that you've overheard. And with regards to just being online, my girls don't have their own cell phones right now, but they are online. And I remember in a previous episode, you guys were talking about Roblox. So they've been on Roblox a lot. And I can recall I was sitting there and I saw that chat feature on the side, and they're like, oh, these are my friends. I'm like, well, you don't know them. Or, you know, do you know them from school? Like, who? And so that was, and this was like 2019. So all of this was just like, you have to have those open conversations and that back and forth with your kids, and because they know more than you think they know. And that's what I had to understand for myself.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. This was such a great question. When it comes to sextortion, sex trafficking, juvenile trafficking, child trafficking, however we describe it, there are over 29 million people, 29 million lives. It has no respect of gender, boys, girls, women, men. It's a horrific occurrence that is happening. And so we're so grateful to the Survivor Council. We're so grateful for our guests. We're so grateful for Alice in continuing this discourse. But one thing that I would like to add is it's important that we educate, we bring awareness on what to do if this should happen. What's the next step? When we're communicating with our youth. So I'm looking forward to more discussions today on that.
Yes. Oh my God. Great answers, ladies. I just want to add to that as well. One thing I'm working on with my daughter is being an example of healing for her and being unapologetic about that healing. Because in that, we find out who we are. And once we grasp that foundation of who we are, we will not allow anybody else to tell us, or we will not allow anybody to write the story about us and what we're going to accept. If you don't like it, I don't like it. If you're disrespectful, what disrespect looks like, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, boundaries. Those are some things that I just learned, but if I didn't know, if the information, like Lady T was saying, education, we have to educate them. Then we have to empower them and then teach them prevention. So for me, it starts with, making sure that even at 12 and 13 years old, you can you can advocate for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can stand up for yourself. Even when you are at 12 and 13, we don't have a clue of who we are and what we want to be, but we have an idea of what we're willing to accept, you know, and by that, we have to set the example. And I'm really working on that, you know, so.
Yeah, because at 12, 13, whether they got a phone or they got a laptop, right, they're still on the internet. And the internet is it's a doorway for everything, like all things bad and a lot of things good, you know. But based on what they're hearing from their friends and what their friends are Googling is what they're Googling. And so at the end of the day, if we're not having that conversation with them, then we're doing them a disservice. We have to be, if we're going to let them be exposed to all these different things, we need to be able to have that conversation. Like some things I tell my daughter, some things you just don't even want in your spirit.
Right.
You know, when you seeing something and you know that this is inappropriate and you wouldn't want your dad to see it or you wouldn't want your mom to see it, then you just shut it down, you know. And if somebody tries to keep bringing that to you, you shut them down. And that's the greatest part about the internet is because I get to shut you down.
Right. Right. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, next question. So it's kind of the same for us, you know. We're also on social media. We also could potentially experience some sextortion, some cyberbullying, and body shaming. Let's switch gears for a little bit. What about that? Because even as adults and being a leader, our faces are out there. How do we handle it? Lady T.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for starting with me. Listen, the best tool that we can ever have is self-confidence. And I'm a plus-size curvy girl, and I own it everywhere I go. I don't let anyone or anything bring that to me. And it's interesting because in doing this podcast, we were with a group of girls, and I think we all could have clinched the table and the chairs when someone was inadvertently body shaming people regarding their hair. I'll use that as an example, meaning that women of color has a lot of different diversity and textures and rationales, but there are a lot of health issues as to why people choose the variations of hairstyles, whether they have wigs, weaves, extensions, and braids. Those are the liberties that we have in being in this country. We have the liberty to do that, right? So someone was inadvertently communicating with youth about those elements in a negative way. And so they were ill-informed and understand you have youth and women who have alopecia. They have stress. I found out from a dermatologist, I suffer from this myself. Stress can impact hair loss, and it can show up 12 to 18 months after a horrific traumatic stressor. So you can be losing your hair like, I'm losing my hair, what's going on? But it's impacted by stress. I had a fire, so from having a fire, 12 to 18 months, I had hair loss, right? So, but you have youth, you have people who could have cancer. I found out people with lupus can have hair loss, or all these other interesting health ailments. So we have to educate our girls and we have to educate our boys in not shaming people based on their appearance, based on their size, based on their stature. I don't let nothing or nobody know how impact me that kind of way. I own who I am everywhere I go. And you do that by instilling confidence, period, point blank.
I love it. I want to jump right on in there. This conversation makes me excited because confidence, absolutely. It's it's on the inside. It's on the inside. And for me, when I found out whose I was, baby, I stepped right into who I am. You know, I am beautiful on the inside. And when you're beautiful on the inside, it just exudes. It comes out of you. So it doesn't matter if I have short hair, long hair, braids, what I have on, it's how I feel about myself in that particular moment, that day. And I think that's important when we're telling the youth, because they are confused by the media, and they think that because you have braids down to your buttocks that this makes you beautiful. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't matter. It's a state of mind. It's confidence. It's being, I feel good about me. So it comes from within, and I'm absolutely trying to make sure that I'm an example for these girls. That experience that Lady T is talking about, I was fuming. Like, is she serious? No, she did it. No, stop. And see, that's why we have to make sure we're on our P's and Q's when it comes to being prepared for these young ladies. If they have these types of questions about how they look, how they feel, it really now, for me, because it took until 30-something, to feel this way about myself. But life experiences, and people are going to try and tell you, even online, I'm experiencing that today, would try and say, oh, well, you look better like this. Your short hair is, listen, if I'm wearing short hair tomorrow, it's how I feel. Right. And I'm going to rock it. I'm going to rock that thing, because now it's self-esteem. It's self-esteem, not everybody's esteem. You know what I'm saying? So
may I add 2 points to that? We have a culture that has not adequately given us self-esteem. So we can't have that without having self-compassion, and self-grace. That's one of the most important elements of what self-esteem and confidence is. But we also live in a culture that has misguided us in so many ways because of the social media. So it's important that we instill, we educate, we bring awareness so that we don't have another generation full of disappointment, self-loathing, so that they can be prey for predators. And that's the bigger issue. I can't wait to hear the rest of this. I just wanted to add that.
At the end of the day, it's about being my authentic self. If I'm rocking my natural hair, and I'm confident with that, right, then I should be allowed the space to do that without other people telling me that it's not okay. If I want to rock an orange wig, then I should be able to do that without people telling me that it's not suited for me. And I mean, there has been several times where throughout my life, and because I'm biracial, and so I have wore different wigs, and I would go to school. I remember this Spanish lady telling me, you shouldn't wear straight wigs because it makes you look Spanish or white. And I was just like, well, I am white, and then I've had other times where people say you shouldn't wear braids, because it makes you look black. And, and just other people's opinion of what they think that I should look like. Come on. And at the end of the day, as long as I feel good about how I look, then that is confidence. And have somebody to have internet say, oh, well, this is not the norm. It's same with like body shapes. So in our society, they're like saying, okay, well, you have to have this, certain type of body shape in order to be considered beautiful. And it's kind of always been that throughout the generations. But, now our youth are online constantly watching this. And so when they look in the mirror, they're questioning whether or not they meet the standard of what pretty is, right? But pretty is who I say it is, and I try to teach my daughter, like, if you think you're beautiful, other people will have no choice because you reject anything that is not good for you. I teach my daughter, you just reject it. Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm God's child and I am perfect as I am. I don't need to be something different in order to fit into, in order to be great. Right. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to be great, right? And so great at who we are, not who you are. Right. Like I teach my daughter, there's a difference between trying to be like somebody else versus being great at being you. I just want to be good. We just want to be great at being us, and we want our daughters and our youth to be great at being them. And I have worked with a lot of transgender. you know, and they are, you know, they get attacked online when they're going through the transition. And at the end of the day, it's like I tell them, if you're okay with being who you are, then everybody else is either going to fall in line or you reject them. You just they got to go somewhere else with that negative energy, right?
Okay. Come on, Robin. Then Aaron.
Yeah. What we got?
I love this subject, by the way, because when we're talking about body image, body shaming, confidence, and rejecting anything that goes against how you feel about yourself, those are things that come from within. And I think for women and for girls, there has to be like a seed planted to get to that point. And I found with my daughters the best way and the easiest way for them to start to feel confident is by being an example for them. Because I have a few examples. So as they were growing up, I finally realized when I wanted them to do something, I had to do it first.
Okay.
I wanted them to read more. So I had to put my phone down and they had to see me reading. I wanted them to drink more water. They had to see me drinking more water. Like, one of the things that came up a lot as they were getting older was about hair. And it was like, oh, I don't have long, straight hair. And so when I started wearing my hair natural, or I started just doing just different funky things with it and saying that my cornrows are professional. I can go to an event looking however I want to look and it still be deemed professional because I said that it's professional and I am professional. So don't think that you have to show up looking a certain way that you've seen in a magazine or an ad. That is, like you said, the definition of pretty.
Right.
You know, you define what that is. But even now with online and when we were talking about body shaming, I found that people will project their insecurities onto you.
Yes.
And you're like when someone says, for example, oh, she thinks she's cute. No, you think she's cute.
You think I'm cute.
You think I'm cute. And for some reason, you don't feel comfortable or secure enough to say, girl, you look cute today.
Come on.
You think that's going to take away from your light when really you're just adding to her light.
Right.
Like, I don't get it. Like, there's enough light for all of us to shine.
Yes.
So, like you said, just reject it. The great thing about social media is block, delete,
Right.
moving on. And the people who are for you will still be there and they'll still be for you.
Come on, Aaron.
So a lot was said, and I agree with all of what was said. I think it does start with a seed being planted. I think it does start with leading by example. I always say, I have a saying that says, know whose you are and who you are. So when you know whose you are, who you belong to, like I know who my Father is, my Heavenly Father is. I know what He has for me. I know, the plans that He has for me, the plans for me to prosper and plans for me to be successful and not to fail. And so I instilled that in my daughter and in my girls, right? And so I just try to lead by example. And so my daughter goes to a predominantly white school, but she has she has a lot of hair. It's kinky texture hair, but I try to encourage her every chance that I get to wear your fro. Like sometimes I'm like, one time she wanted to wear her fro to school. And I was like, cause I know how it looks in the day, like how it looks when she goes to school. It's not gonna look like that when she come back. So I'm like, I don't really know. Like, and she was like, no, Mom, I really want to wear it. Cause she wanted to wear it like with her bangs down. So I was like, wear it up like this, like a big cute fro. And she's like, she kept pulling it down. And when she came from school, when I picked her up from school, she just looked so beautiful. And I was like, she was like, see, I told you. And we were like taking pictures in the parking lot. And she was getting compliments, but I just didn't want, because her hair is different, but it's okay. I try to let her know it's okay to be different. But even still, she teaches me like, children have the ability to teach us too. And, but yeah, I think it's just like you all said, leading by example, planting the seed. And I think think that's it.
Yeah, because energy is everything. And one of the things that I point out to my daughter also is that, what you see online, anybody can get fabulous for a picture. Right? So don't be fooled by the illusion of one picture that this is how this person presents themselves every single time they step out. There's a time and place for everything. Some stuff is meant for the stage. Some of them are performing at that time when you see them, and so they are dressed to perform. When you see me later on this evening, I'm going to have my hair back in a ponytail and a t-shirt on. And so that's just the reality, and teaching them the difference between what's real and what's fake.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
I also wanted to say, like, peer pressure is something that's been around, like, for forever. It's probably going to always be around. So we're just, like, teaching them to deal with it. I think it's important to let them know it's okay to be yourself, and encourage them to be yourself. Encourage them. I try to nurture, even with the girls, like, some girls, they like to share and they like to talk. Some girls don't. It's okay. Like, we did a painting with the twist exercise, and one of the young girls, like, it's a set picture. She didn't want to do the set picture. She wanted to go off and do her own thing. And I'm like, hey, go do whatever you feel. Go ahead and do it, because who knows what's going to come out on that picture, and how it's going to inspire. You might inspire some other girls to want to paint and do more. And I want to say, like, it's not something that young girls are just dealing with when it comes to peer pressure and body shaming. Women are dealing with this stuff. Like,
Absolutely.
When you look at a lot of celebrities and stuff, and you see them paying all this money to, do what they do, to contour and
just stay young forever.
and just make their bodies just, they're adding on
The augmentation.
They're doing all of that, and it's like, you want to look like this person, but this person don't even want to look like this person.
Come
on.
And there's a lot of pain that comes with that. I got a little rap song out, and it talks about that. It looked like torture to me. At the end of the day, it's like, on the internet, they got all that going on, but I got to be okay with me. Some of that stuff is for the stage.
Right.
I leave that to them. Understanding, like, okay, you're trying to keep up this image of who you was seen as in your 20s, or you're trying to keep getting more famous, right? But as a regular person, like, I'm not trying to keep up with that. I'm trying to keep up with, like, what a normal person is going to work every day and go shopping at Walmart and, it's going to look like. And because really what I do is I set myself apart. And one thing I wanted to say is that what I think as a nation, right, what we absolutely have to instill in our daughters and our youth is that it's never okay to point out somebody's flaws and then attack them because they're different.
Right.
And because that's the classism. Like, if she does have a huge derriere, well, why are you focused on that? It's like, okay, so she does have short hair. She wants to wear her hair short and natural. Why are you focused on that?
Right.
Why focus on the negative and focus on the positive? And that's what I try to instill in my daughter, because it goes back to leadership.
Right.
You can be a leader as a youth and stand up for somebody who's being bullied, and like, no, that's not, no, she look fine just the way she is.
Right.
Like, why are you attacking her?
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to echo everything that's been said. It's very important that we do two things, that we do role modeling. The examples that you all have given in terms of your daughters, they have to be, you can't be what you can't see.
Right.
So when they see it, like, you both are beautiful women here today, rocking their natural dues. And so it would not surprise me of the level of confidence that your daughters will have as a result, because role modeling is important. But there's this small little part that we've not discussed. And we have marginalized populations. We have youth in foster care. We have the transgender population. We have the LBGT plus community that sometimes they don't have role models. Mm-hmm. And so I would like for us, before we transition to the next question, to really talk about what that looks like, because I know that predators are out there waiting to prey on this population. And I'm going to come from my lens as a believer that one of the greatest commissions in my lens is love, right? So I love everybody, not everyone, everybody. And I say that because oftentimes when that extension of love, darkness and light can't occupy the same space. So when that extension of love is given to marginalized populations, it can kind of help when you're educating and bringing awareness about subjects like this. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are about, these other marginalized populations that don't have role models, that are not being educated, that don't have a support system. So I just wanted to hear that.
What if they don't have the money to keep to buy the things that they need to keep themselves up or to keep up with the systems, and especially with our youth. Our youth can be very bullyish when it comes to like, oh, well, you don't have these type of shoes and you don't have this and you don't have that. And so at the end of the day, I think it goes back to what I just said about teaching our children not to attack other children.
Right.
It's a big thing, because what I try to instill in my daughters, you are blessed. You're blessed to be able to have the things that you have. And so when you look at other people, you shouldn't look at them in a negative way.
Right.
You don't want to be like the people that's attacking you. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Because we all have some form of, in our life experience some form of somebody bullying us in some way, right? And so we have to remember what that feels like. If I remember what that feels like, I need to think before I speak. Because one thing that was told to me a long time ago, they said, don't say anything to somebody that would hurt you if they said it to you.
Right.
That's good.
And so, and with the LGBTQ, that's a very challenging, aspect, right? So, because you do have all these people, different people with different perspectives of who they think that they should be and how they think that they should live. And if they feel that it's a good thing or a bad thing, but, sometimes you just need to keep all your feelings to yourself because it's not for you to decide because God gives us each an individual being, and we get to decide for ourselves. And it comes back to choice. My body, my choice.
Right. I like what Lady T said. You said two very important things that stuck with me. And one of them was self-grace and then also love. And I think that is important, reflecting on my journey and loving myself and self-acceptance and grace with myself. And then it just comes out. Like, I love everybody too. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody. I love
right where
everybody.
you are, right where you are, right where you are. If you are in transition, the goal is to be happy.
Yes.
I think that's it. I think the goal is to be happy. And we should all try to be those examples of light. Like, not everybody reads the Bible, but I'm going to give this as an example. I used to hear this, that sometimes you should be the example of the Bible that nobody's going to pick up. You know what I mean? And that's about love. Yeah. That's it. It's about love, right? Where people
God
are.
is love. And if they don't experience love in your presence.
Right, exactly. And it's this poem, and I forget the name of the author, but she talked about when you shine your light, you give other people permission to shine their light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. We are so hard on each other and so rough on each other, and we pick each other apart because it's easier to do that than to figure out what it is that we need to deal with. It's easier to go through somebody else's insecurities and what they need to work on than to work on ourselves, because it's not taught. It's not talked about enough. We have insecurities all the time. I can know exactly whose I am and who I am. That does not mean tomorrow, oh, darn it, look at my thighs. You know what I'm saying? It just changes. And that's what it is. It's, feelings are fleeting. Those kind of things are fleeting. But however, we need to just keep the focus. The focus is happiness and love, and sometimes we have to be that extra for somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I love the way you just said that. Like, feelings are fleeting. Because, even in the worst of the worst, when I was in my darkest moments in my life, I just, when I look at people today, I just be like, this too shall pass. This is temporary. You know what I mean? And if I could just get through this, how I feel about myself today, right? Tomorrow is going to be, the sun going to shine again.
All right, absolutely. So that the topic that we were just on, it kind of coincides with my next question, and it's about this misleading propaganda and the negative effect it has on our youth. And because we are all leaders and we want to help our youth, do you think, with you two in particular, Rebirth Ruth and Robin, you as an entrepreneur and raising your two daughters, do you think that this misleading propaganda of body shaming and the negativity that's online, do you think it would affect how we lead and guide them? Do you would think it'll affect what we're teaching them? Arian.
It could, because it's everywhere, but I think it's important to be authentic. So like, if I'm modeling self-confidence, right? Like I believe that being genuine and authenticity, it trumps the fake and the phony every time.
Yes.
Because people can tell when you're being real. People can tell when you're being genuine, and then you show the aftermath of like what happens when, okay, let's just say the augmentation, right? People don't know. You got to keep that stuff up.
Yes.
That's expensive.
Yes.
And you got to go get it. You got to get it redone, because when you don't, it look weird when, so, and is it really helping? Because we were talking about it comes from within. So just because you could be beautiful on the outside, right? But if you are, for lack of a better word, if you're ugly on the inside, it don't matter. It's going to show. Nobody's going to want to be around you. Nobody's going to, so like, just being around my daughter and the girls with Rebirth Ruth, and just being real and just being authentic, just, let them know, yeah, it's okay. Like you said, you're going to have these feelings. You're going to have these emotions. Like, it would be fake for me to tell you that you're not, you're going to deal with peer pressure. I dealt with peer pressure, as a adolescent, and sometimes I still deal with peer pressure, because it's so much, but you have to know who you are, and that's it.
Robin.
With my girls, I've really tried to, like I said, be transparent with them. And one thing that I did that was really difficult for me was I've always been into journaling. And I've kept a journal since I was about 12, and I have books of them in my closet. For the first time ever, I let them read one of them, one chapter of it, and no one had ever laid eyes on these journals. And I didn't go through it and kind of preview it before I gave it to them. I said, no, this was me at your age. So I want you to see the thoughts that you're having today are the thoughts that I had in the 80s. So there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun.
That's scripture.
And there's the peer pressure. It's liking somebody who didn't like me back. It's the body image, seeing my friends, they're starting to develop. I'm not developing yet. That was one of the things that one of my girls came to me. My friends are developing, and well, when is it going to happen for me? Why don't I have curves like my friends? Because I went to a dance, and some of these, they're developed. What's in the food? They're developed. So, those conversations when you're talking about, the body shaming, and how do we continue to have that ongoing dialogue, it is being vulnerable.
Yes. Oh,
and
that's
I
the
think
word.
That's what I've learned as a parent is being a parent has introduced me to myself.
Okay.
In so many ways, because they're such a reflection and things that they check me on, and I'm like, Ooh, she just opened up a wound right there. And it's like, I have to talk about it because I don't want, and I had a conversation with my mom, I don't want another generation of secrets.
Yes. Oh my God.
So let's talk. I said, it's going to be tough, but we're going to talk about it because I don't want 30 years to go by and you say, Mom, why didn't you tell me?
That is so big. That is so huge because a lot of this that's going on within sextortion, human trafficking, exploitation, the big secret. Ooh, the secretness, right? And so all of what most survivor leaders across the country have been doing is exposing the truth.
Oh, yes.
And exposing the truth has helped so many. And continuing to expose the truth and trickling that down into each household. Oh, that just gives me chill bumps. Just thinking about the power of change and the power of changing that narrative just through that.
What about you, Lady T?
I want to respond to that, but I almost want to challenge Alice a little bit. Alice, today's episode, we had an occurrence of someone, a guest that was supposed to be on this show. They had a different positioning about coming to discuss this today. Alice, could you elaborate on that a little bit? Because the secret of it all, the secret of who are our audiences, who we don't want to offend, the secretness of it all.
Well, one thing about the Survivor Council, right? And so we stand for the truth, right? And we walk in the truth, and we don't care who we offend. We want to offend pimps. We want to offend people who are exploiting our youth, targeting our youth. Yeah, we're coming for you. We're talking about you. We're exposing you. And some people may still not understand like how that affects their household. Right. By not being able to do so. And I'm not the one, because like one of the things that we're talking about here is not throwing people under the bus.
Right.
And one of the things I don't do is I don't tear people apart. And that's part of the embodiment of leadership, right? But I will take a stand and check you when you're off base.
Come on.
Right?
Come
because,
on.
Because you way off base, and it's okay.
Right.
It's okay, because it's not going to stop us from continuing to expose the truth, regardless if you want to be part of it or not.
And as a member of the Survival Council, if you're offended, then maybe you should look at yourself.
Right.
Because only people that are offended by positive conversations, maybe there's something negative about your opinion and your disposition that you might want to check yourself out in the mirror and look at.
Right.
This is about education, prevention, and empowerment. That's what the Survival Council is about. Ain't nothing negative about that.
Right.
Why aren't you doing your part? If you have people under you, little ones under you, male, female, cousins, little brothers, sisters, daughters, nieces, sons, and they are looking at you, matter of fact, they are looking at you. But if you are playing a negative part in what they see, honey, we got to do some self-inventory.
Right, because there is a saying that says that it is no greater evil than the person who stands by and watches
Right.
the evil.
You
and
guilty
says
too.
nothing.
You
know what
guilty.
I'm saying? Like how, I don't want to be in that realm of people that think it's okay to just sit. You know what's going on.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
You see this.
Alice.
And you just refuse to even.
Yeah, oh my gosh, you hit on the key points, and really it goes back to leadership. So why I posed the question was to answer your question in terms of what leadership looks like. And leadership looks like different things. You have different styles and types of leaderships, but there's a leadership style that's not often talked about, and it's called a saboteur leadership style. And a saboteur leader, they sabotage either knowingly or unknowingly. So sometimes in roles when we see things are not going the way that we expect for youth or in the different spaces that we occupy, it's okay to speak up. So being authentically true to ourselves, authentically true to what the imagery is. I know that personally I've faced imagery early on. I've been 6 feet tall since I was 11 years old. And I'm so grateful that I come from a family of women and grandparents and my father, my mom, they're also tall, that equipped me with the confidence about being tall. The first thing that I learned when I was 9 years old is that you don't slump. Just because you're tall, you stand up, you have good posture, you have a level of confidence in everything that you go. But it didn't, right? But it did mean that when I went to Durfee Middle School here in the city of Detroit, that I wasn't called the green giant, the tall giant, but I got to a point, I was like, and you wish you were that, right?
Yes.
So as life has gone on, and I have invisible disabilities, so my expansion of weight, it goes up, it goes down. I don't allow others to give me what that imagery is. But going back to ending this putting a pin in this particular part, it's important that we continue to educate. We have this deliberate discourse for based on what the Survivor Council has done, because I know that everyone can't see who's here today, but the Survivor Council has done a good job with researching subjects, topics, and making sure that these thematical discourses are happening. And it is by youth-led individuals and or individuals who work with you. So I can't thank you all enough, and everything that's represented here and the intersectionality of it all. And I'll leave you with this. In March of 2024, I was at the UN, and not that I was at the UN. I don't want to make it about that. But what was so interesting this year, you can Google it, in a UN session during the 68th session on the Commission of Women, a question was asked, and the question was, who here has been cyberbullied? And everyone in the room raised their hand.
Absolutely.
So the cyberbullying, it does impact us. It's not going away, but equipping and educating and bringing prevention and giving tools to our youth to say what to do. And I go back to our last session, the No, Not Us.
Yes.
The No, Not Us. Yeah, that's important to educate children. No, not us. So that we don't have another generation.
No, not us.
No, not us. Yes.
I want to take a moment to shout out Robin from the Motor City Women's Studio. She's the one who put this podcast room together for us and does all that great stuff for us. And Arian from Rebirth Ruth, once again back to join us. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to them.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk about leadership.
Oh, Lord.
We're going to talk about leadership. So this question is for you, Robin.
Okay.
So you are an entrepreneur.
I am.
Let's talk about you being an entrepreneur and a leader. Give us your style. What's your style of leadership and your take on being an entrepreneur?
Well, entrepreneurship found me. I did not go looking for it. I was working at an organization that actually supported entrepreneurs and loved it. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I was pregnant with my third child that I realized that I was not going to be able to be the mother I wanted to be while working for someone else. It just wasn't working out. Like, I was getting off at 5:00. My kids get out of school at 3:00, and luckily I have a phenomenal support circle. But I had like 2 hours with my kids a day, if that, before putting them to bed and getting up and doing it all over again. So I was sitting, at work, looking out the window, saying there has to be a better way. And so I followed my passion. My passion has always been, it started with talk radio, and growing up here in Detroit, I listened to Martha Jean the Queen. If you don't know who Martha Jean the Queen is, Google it.
Yes.
Old episodes are on YouTube, in fact. And, my mother listened to a ton of talk radio. And one thing about Martha Jean the Queen was that she was one of the few Black women who hosted her own show and eventually owned her own radio station.
Wow.
So that seed was planted early in me of like, I could take charge and I could be someone who's in my community, have important conversations, and create this platform for topics that are important to me. So we started off with just renting space at another studio because I was still working full time. I just had my son, and I was working 9 to 5 and would work on the business at night, and did that for 2 years. 2 years of just grinding. We had our first location in 2016, in fact. And, over time, I was able to leave my full-time position and be a full-time entrepreneur. But there has been obstacles, a lot of obstacles. So when your question about leadership style, I think what has helped me in being a self-professed introvert, not really liking the shine that much, but my leadership style is really in equipping our team, and making sure that they have the tools, the resources that they need to do their best. And one thing that I have evolved into is coming to the realization that I don't have to do everything myself.
Wow. Yes.
That took a decade of I don't have to, someone else is better equipped to do this and can probably do it faster than I can, more efficient. Here I am trying to struggle because that mentality of
10 hours.
Yes, that mentality of I have to do it myself. Who told you have to do it yourself? I reject that.
Right.
I have to do everything myself or it's not going to be right. No, I'm going to cultivate a team of people. I have my own personal village. Shout out to my mom and my mother-in-law, who they're my dream team. I couldn't be this full-time entrepreneur and show up the way I do without them. It wouldn't be possible because I would be on the phone with, we got, especially right now, there's camps, we're getting ready for back to school now. Yeah. There's just a lot of stuff going on and they fill those gaps. So with leadership style, not only in my professional realm, but also on the personal realm, the leadership of the family unit of our extended family and communicating with them what I need. And sometimes I think when people think leader, they think the person who's out front.
Right.
But my leadership style, I'm the person who is sometimes unseen, but really locking arms with my support system to make sure that we're all getting to, where we need to get to, making sure that my kids are being poured into, making sure that the business is growing. But I think overall, one thing I've learned of being a leader is supporting other people, recognizing other people, advocating for other people, and realizing that you don't always have to be in front to lead.
Right. That is awesome. And I'm so glad you mentioned the leadership part, because that was something, the Survival Council, we meet a couple times a month, and Alice teaches us that. And I want to thank you for being a great leader, because up under you, I'm learning so much. And that was one of the points that you taught us, was that just because you're a leader doesn't mean you have to be out front and the one that's always in the front, because your support is half the reason why, maybe, I don't know, depending on who we're talking about, because Alice does a lot, but your support is the reason why you're the leader.
Yeah.
So, I think, and Alice teaches us that being a leader, you have to remain teachable. You have to remain a student. So that's awesome. Thank you for saying that. So also we're still talking about leadership, and this question is for all of us. This is fun. We have this fun thing that we're doing, and Alice gives us homework. I do my homework. But one of those questions was about leadership style, and she asked us, what is your leadership animal? And I think that's a good question for all of us. Lady T, what's your leadership animal?
Well, it depends, because I serve in different capacities. And so before I go to the animal, I like to describe myself as a servant leadership style. So I like to afford the different audiences or groups that I'm working with, because I'm a business owner. I own a cashew farm. I have agribusiness. I serve in leadership roles with the United Nations Association of USA. I'm the women's chairperson. I have a lot of mentorship that I do, so it just really depends. So if I were to say I was a leader, I would say like almost like a kangaroo. And I use the kangaroo example is because the kangaroo has the baby in the pouch. And so all of the mentors, I was on kind of vacation a couple of weeks ago for 2 weeks. And my friend who used to be an elected official here, I won't say her name, she said, "Oh my gosh, you are offline and the calls that you get from your mentees around the world is insane. And you have from the highest of social class to people who are in their ideation stages, but you treat everyone the same." And so when we end the segment, I pulled up my leadership statement because I know, Alice, we've talked about that in some of our facilitation. At the end of the day, I consider myself a human rights expert or advocate. So I treat everyone the same, equal everywhere, at all times. So that's my leadership animal would be a kangaroo, because I carry people like in my pouch. And I believe that I can give them the best nurturing and support. And it does require sometimes taking a step back. I have even learned how to delegate better with them. You know, sometimes when you have these pouches that you carry, and it's like, no, I'm modeling. But in modeling, I always try to pose back thought-provoking questions to them to make them think about the solutions, opposed to this is what you need to do. Because as nurturers, as women, sometimes we want to give the most nurturing response. And I've learned over the years, and the organization that Robin used to work at, I think I learned that with understanding some of the leadership styles, going back to sabotage leadership style. Some of the leadership styles that I observed that I had to wiggle away, and I became my own anomaly. And so that was a real teachable moment for me. And I understood my own power. Mm-hmm. And so with power and self-confidence, those are things that we're taught that you can embrace them, right? But if you embrace something, you can let it go. Mm-hmm. So now I embody them. I take them with me everywhere I go because I embody my leadership.
I love you so much, girl. Okay, you know what? I have another question for you, because I think there are a few entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship, we didn't get a chance to touch on that with you. How is that correlating with your leadership style and being an entrepreneur?
Okay, so I have my cashew business is a very successful business on paper, meaning that it's a social enterprise. So I have 41 people who work for me. And so my leadership style it's outside of the country. So oftentimes I'm up all hours of the day or night and mitigating that. But I've also had to take that servitude leadership and empower them. For example, in the country that the cashew business is in, and I don't say it because they are conglomerates that would love to decimate this little social enterprise, right? Because the industry has like 5 top companies that dominate the industry in several countries for the whole market share. But I digress. Mm-hmm. With the social entrepreneurship, we had a situation where some of our tractors on the farm was broken. So they called me for solutions. And I was like, no, I'm not fixing it. There's no repair. You all have had funds for this, and this. You guys are going to have to figure out locally how to do it. And guess what? In less than 7 hours, all 3 of those tractors were repaired.
Yes.
They were repaired. So sometimes we have to empower people, going back to what you said about Alice in terms of the whole premise of Survivor Council. We couldn't be here today without the storyboarding, without the run of show, without the pre-production, the post-production elements. And it requires a leader to step back and allow people to be themselves. So my entrepreneurship in that role is that way. Now my role as it relates to the UNA chairperson is a little different. When I first got in that spirit, I'm from Detroit. I'm from a Detroit public school system. No one could have equipped me to help me know, think, or understand what that would look like, right? So when I first got into it, I was told, welcome to the Hunger Games. And I was like, why would somebody say that? I was like, that's a hater, right? But I now understand what they meant, because it's very competitive. And so what I try to do is be my authentic self. You come to me with a problem, I'm going to meet you where you at. If you come to me and I didn't send for you, I'm going to meet you where you at. If you come to me with the equal everywhere and for the whole advocacy aspect of it, I'm going to meet you where you at. So that's my stance on it. So it's a little firm. But I'm so grateful for a leadership role that Alice and I are in as being human trafficking fellows. I learned so much from this fellowship, and I really was going to drop out of it twice. And it was in observing really Alice's shine, going back to when you are a star and you are around a lot of stars, sometimes they don't want you to illuminate, right? Mm-hmm. So Alice's illumination, not just because she in that cute green today, but her illumination amongst other stars was interesting to observe. And so sometimes I was having my own issues about things that I observed, so much so that I felt my experience that it kind of made an attack come towards me. But the devil is a liar, right? On. And so I'm so grateful that on the other side of it, I have the opportunity to work with this podcast, with the Survivor Council, as a result of my tenacity to continue to go. So that too was a form of leadership. That's my response.
Come on, Alice. Entrepreneurship, leadership style, and what's your leadership style animal?
Oh, yeah. I got a couple because I like the owl, and because it's just like kind of knowing where to hide, where to get shelter from the storm, and then I like the eagle because they just press through, like I rise above whatever situation it is. And you were so right when you said, like, a lot of times I lead with in the middle. So I'm always accountable and always in the middle. And I have people over me, beside me, all around me who are looking at me. And it keeps me on point. Like, even when I'm like things is crazy and I'm struggling and juggling stuff, I know that I have other people to hold me up, and I have other people beside me. And, there's always a bigger vision and a bigger goal. And I just be like that eagle, just keep rising above it. And so I like the eagle and I like the owl. Because the owl know when to just get in the cut and just okay, we just gonna watch.
Okay, come on, Arian. That would describe our fellowship.
That's good.
Till I take flight.
I would say my animal would be a lioness.
I like that.
And so if you know anything about lions and how they hunt, the women hunt.
Yes, girl. You stole mine.
I'm sorry. You can have it. We both.
We gonna share it.
Okay, yeah. So and that's another thing. When they hunt together, right? It's a team effort, and they teach. They're protective over their cubs. They give them the life skills they need to go out and be successful. There's a fierceness about them, but there's also we have that compassion, and so as a leader. I'm still learning because I'm new at this. Yeah. But I pray a lot. God, send me
yes.
women that you know they have the heart for this, right? That they could be trusted. So I pray a lot, like, send me the women. Like how we met, that was an answered prayer. How we met, that's an answered prayer. And so I trust God, because even when I don't trust myself, I got to be able to trust God to know that He's leading me in the right direction, because I am so new at this, and I'm learning as I grow, or as I go, and as I grow.
Right.
So
both.
As I go and as I grow.
Come on. Oh my God, y'all preaching today. Come on, Robin.
You know, I was gonna say owl, because I have an owl in my living room. I love it because it sees everything, but reacts to like a handful of things.
Come on.
You know, so controlling your emotion is something that I'm like journaling through right now. Knowing when to react and knowing when things are not even worth my reaction.
Yes.
It's
So
like,
important.
yeah, I saw it. Like, not even worth the energy to react on that. But in sitting here thinking, I was thinking of, I love water. I love being in water. I swim a lot. That's why my hair is like this.
We twins.
I love water. I love looking at water. I like the sound of water. And I was thinking of animals that are in the water. But in thinking of that, because my first inclination was a tortoise, but then being able to swim. So being able to be on land, but also have the capacity to swim. And I picked that because my leadership style is that I'm able to adapt.
Yes.
And I think that has helped me in building 2 businesses now over the last decade, is being able to adapt during the pandemic, as a mother, as things change and shift, and okay, if that's not a priority now, this is a priority. Okay, let's switch gears and let's do this. So I think that adaptability is something that all leaders have.
This has been so amazing. Like, you guys, y'all just fed me. Ooh.
I know.
You guys feeling fed?
I feel so full. I got 2 too, and you guys both said them both. You ladies said them both. Mine was the lioness and the eagle. Okay, fun fact. Do you know when the eagle turns 40 years old, it has a decision to make. It has to break its beak and rip out its talons and feathers in order to live another 30 years. And I felt like, oh Lord Jesus, I felt like I went through that phase. You know what I'm saying? And I'm so grateful because, yes, this episode has like filled me up. You know what I mean? Lady T, she's so powerful. And you using the kangaroo as your leadership style animal is not a surprise to me, because it's like you come out of that pouch with so much like
She got
tools.
some stuff in there.
It's just so awesome and it's so powerful, you know. And the lioness, like, I'm at the point now, I will go get what we need so we all can eat. You know what I mean? And we talked about it earlier before we started, Robin and I, and we talked about obedience being better than sacrifice. That's where I am. Whatever you need me to do, he know who I'm talking to. Whatever you need me to do. You know what I mean? I didn't really ask for this particular role, but it's pushing me to be a student. You know? Oh, I love it.
Oh my goodness, that was beautiful. I hope everyone really heard the adaptability of all of the animals, and going from the owl to the eagle, to the lioness, even with the kangaroo, there's always adaptability. And in life and in leadership, that has to be there. And one of the, going back to fun facts, I'm so grateful that you shared that, because I was going to say, did you know that this happens? But I will go to the eagle still and say, one of the things that I love about the eagle is when the eagle has a predator and the predator gets on its back, it soars up to higher altitudes so that the predator can fall off because they can't breathe. And one of the things that I love about the lioness Listen, that's the best example of entrepreneurship. That's the best example of life that I often utilize, is because our lioness hunts, kills, I would say cook and clean and serve, right?
Yes.
Come on. Now, you can't get any more adaptable to being champion for gender, being a mom, being a sister, a friend, without those levels of adaptability.
Man,
and
I
the
gotta talk
owl.
about that tortoise. Though.
Wait a minute. That was what I was saying. Wait a minute. That was
That
going
tortoise.
right. So let's. I was.
Deep water.
Listen.
Deep,
Wait.
deep water.
See, come on, Alice. You know we together, right? So I was gonna leave that for last. But the owl, the wisdom.
Yes.
The wisdom, the emotional intelligence, the adaptability to know the emotional intelligence. That's all I'm going to say on that. But that owl, go ahead on. You ended with the owl in the deep waters, because I think we in tandem with that.
That tortoise go through it.
Come on.
And it lives. It outlives. Like it lives for decades and decades and decades. Can live almost a couple hundred years, in any type of weather. And so that was an amazing analogy in itself. But I really do want to end this podcast with somebody's leadership narrative that they worked on.
Oh, right.
So this is a treat. This is a treat. In our HTLA, we had to come up with our narratives, and Lady T and Tish both have their narratives with them today. And I was hoping that they would share them with us, because this is something that they did to research about themselves and dug a little deep and came up with just a little 90-second narrative. Y'all ready?
Okay. Okay. My leadership narrative, I like to mention that my leadership narrative is authentic. I am powerful, but I'm only powerful because I'm vulnerable. I'm only vulnerable because I know who I'm supposed to trust, and trusting that God will take me to where he needs me to go. And I rest in that. I'm only becoming the leader that I'm destined to become because I know who I'm following, and I trust him. I trust that he's going to place all of the right people in my life. Mm-hmm. I trust that God is going to use my story for his glory. I trust that this story I know that it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about his people. The youth that we're trying to reach. And I understand that as long as I trust him, that I'll be the leader that he needs me to be. Trying to project that leadership style of being the lioness, because I'm hungry. I'm hungry for his love. I'm hungry for doing all the things that glorify his name, and love. I want to exude love. Because when everything is gone on this earth, everything is gone on this earth, the only thing we'll have is love. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to lead with love, really.
Awesome.
That's beautiful. All right. My leadership statement that we did during our fellowship is, amidst life's vast and shifting sea, I am the breeze of change, whispering through complacency's stage, a force to rearrange. I am the amber's fury, equality dart, igniting paths anew, burning bridges to the past, revealing skies so blue. I am the chisel to stagnant stone, sculpting growth's embrace, shattering the status quo, letting transformation grace. With every step for human rights, I am the catalyst in flight, a lantern in the hopeless night, a beacon shining bright. In unity my strength resides, with hearts and hands entwined. Solidarity's unbreakable bound, a fortress for all humankind. Through tribulations and trials, we stand with hearts aflame. I am the change, the force of hope. With solidity, I claim I am a change maker and a human rights expert.
Come on.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back with another podcast, so stay tuned. If you haven't seen the ones before, then go on there and check them out. This is the Survivor Council, and we'll see you next time. Oh, go to the opengateway.org. Go to the opengateway.org and subscribe, like, and support. Motor City Women's Studio and Rebirth Ruth.
Bye.